And what is going on? You are watching Tag's podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex. I'm your host, Steve V. This is the 5-year anniversary, part 2. Woohoo! Super excited. If you're keeping track, it's episode 339. So excited to be celebrating this week with Lincoln joining us. How you doing,
everybody?
Lincoln?
Good to see you. Very well. How are you?
Good. Are we getting a little insight into the makings of the protein bakery behind you?
Yeah, this is the back of the shop. This is the shop. I can have a logo
Yes.
next
I
to it.
love
Yeah,
it.
I love
Come
my
on,
little
back
shop.
door.
It's a little
Can you give us a
spiral
tour?
Crazy.
Maybe you can give us a
Well,
tour.
not.
and-
I would have to pick up my my desktop and walk around.
Got it.
That's
got
okay.
it.
Do
Okay.
That's okay.
You accept
I picked up words.
deliveries in the rear? Is that what's going on?
He accepts things in the rear. Yes, he does.
Bad joke.
Always open
Bad
for
joke.
business. Also, of course, joining us is Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell are you, Kodi?
Hello, darling. It's so wonderful to see you here.
Well, it's great to see you guys, and cheers for 5 years of podcasting. We're going to get into some stories. Okay.
Champagne, yay.
As we record
Some of
this on
us
Tuesday night, February 15th, on Singles Awareness Day, y'all. So I'm celebrating as a single one of the crew over here. But I got to ask you guys, since Valentine's was yesterday, I want to hear from both of you on how did you celebrate? Lincoln, what did you do and celebrate? I loved your postings on Instagram.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's our first Valentine's Day since being engaged, so that was kind of fun. I had to come and spread the love through the bakery. There were a lot of orders to go out and people picking up, giving Protein Bakery for Valentine's Day. So I started the day like that, and then I taught a double at Temple, so Peter and I sweat together. And then we went home to gifts, which Peter overdid it, and we had boxes of chocolate and adult toys and bubbly.
Ooh.
And a lot of cards. I'm going to be doing all the cards on my Instagram at some point soon. They're very sweet. It was very nice. It was a great one.
Well, we're live, and Teddy asked the question out of ballet spin class, and I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it.
Last night I taught Saints and Sinners, which is a 45-minute full-body cardio sculpt, and then 45-minute temple abs, which is an all-core training class. Both really good.
As soon as I'm up and around again, I want to take class. We keep saying that, but you know what
As you've been threatening over the many years we've known each other.
You know what I got into? I watched a whole YouTube video on a guy that's teaching you the basics of boxing, and I know it's my new workout of choice because I know it's just going to shred me down. And I'm doing it with my iWalk cast shadow boxing. And it's day 2, 20 minutes. I just put on music in the mirror and I have my moves and I love it. It's so,
Okay,
I know.
J-Lo. All right.
Okay, enough. Yes. No, not J-Lo. It's more like Halle Berry. Thank you very much. In the Netflix
In what?
movie. In the movie she just came out with.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, I feel horrible
such
now.
a good movie.
Enough was perfect.
Okay. I gotta ask, Kodi, how did you celebrate with Joe on Valentine's Day?
Well, we made dinner here. We had steak with crab sauce and some vegetable. We had a salad, a spinach salad, and then we went bowling, if you can believe it.
Bowling? Okay.
I know, right?
And 1978 over there.
A bitch bowled a 130 over here. Okay.
Is that good?
I don't know.
Oh,
I think it's
Fine.
decent, but I beat
Just
everybody
encourage
else,
him.
so that's
It'll
all
be
that.
Was it one of those modern bowling alleys that like have cocktails or was it the down and dirty old school?
Oh, there was definitely drinking going on, you know. I couldn't bowl without drinks. My whole wrist is aching today.
I thought you said your whole
delicate petite wrist. No, his whole is aching today.
I bet.
He just had
Nice.
surgery, so yes, his hole is
Oh,
aching today.
You
not the
can't say
Valentine's
that.
Day story we were planning.
Everything's going to be
That's
okay, though, right? You can't say
Yeah,
that to our audience
he
without them wondering what
he's
kind of
totally
surgery.
fine. He's totally
Okay.
fine. He's resting, and he will be pretty upset that I told everybody that he had surgery today. So,
Okay.
oh
You
well.
can't say stuff like that without
Why?
informing everybody, but all right. You did.
Just slipped out. I had champagne. I had too much
Just
champagne
slipped
today.
out.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. It's our 5-year anniversary, like I said, part 2. And we've got 2 people coming on in a little bit. We're going to be giving live sex relationship advice to. Really excited about that, plus some hot topics. But before we get to that, I have to tell you guys about a special offer that you guys can take advantage of. And when we did the 5-year anniversary, I thought, what do I want to do? And what I did was over on our Patreon community where you can support us, I simplified our tiers.
Mhm.
There's 5 tiers. It's very simple. You go over there and you get some really sexy perks that I'm
Love it.
per month. And one of the perks and the tiers that I want to tell you about is our sub. So they've got fun names like Twink, Virgin, Sub, Diva,
Cute.
and Sugar Daddy. At those tiers, you get different perks. But what you can do is my favorite category right now, and it's just in the middle somewhere, it's called Sub, because
Mhm.
I'm starting to write erotica. I don't know if I've told you this, that I was a
Yeah.
writer before I did a lot of this stuff. I was a videographer, but one of the things was I was a writer. And I decided, particularly during this time of mending my ankle, I've gotten back into my writing and I love it. It's kind of the new direction I'm going
Amazing.
into. I mean, I will continue. I love talking and podcasting, but writing is my other love. And what you're going to get in one of the tiers is erotica. Okay,
Mm.
Lincoln.
Okay.
I started
High
to get
bar.
yeah, yeah, I'm not writing music though. I'm writing like short stories. And every other month in the sub category, you're going to get a tasting of my erotica short stories. And hopefully it's going to be a part of a book. I'm also writing a novel right
Ooh.
now as well that you're going to get excerpts at a particular tier. But that's just one of the fun things that I'm excited to share with you but you can join between now and February 24th and you'll get a special offer. Go to patreon.com/Tagspodcast and you'll get a shout out on an upcoming episode of your name and city, but you'll also get an exclusive hangout live stream that is part of one of the tiers, but you'll get an extra one, which will be really cool.
Oh
So
wow.
patreon.com/Tags podcast to continue the Tag Sex Pause community. All right. Well, before we bring on our guests, we've got to get to some hot topics. And
Oh.
yes, and
Yay.
I don't know if you've heard of this, guys, but I'm probably saying I'm going to butcher the name. Shigella. And why should we know about it? Health experts in the UK have warned of a rise in antibiotic-resistant Shigella. It's a gut infection essentially, and it's passed on through fecal oral contact.
I thought it was a
Contact.
new drag queen. I was like, what does she
Shigella.
gonna do?
You don't want to. Essentially, it's people think it's often through food contamination, but it's actually through things like eating ass. It's an infection that many
Oh.
men know little about compared to other STIs like chlamydia and gonorrhea.
Mhm.
And the UK Health Security Agency issued its warning after detecting 47 cases in the 4 months between September 1st, 2021 and January 10th, 2022. That's kind of 3 times as many cases as the 17th month before this study was done.
Oh wow.
They've tracked the strain of Shigella since 2018 and say its recent cases show that resistance to antibiotics is increasing, which
Oh
isn't
my
really a good
goodness.
sign. What is
Yeah.
it? It's a bacteria that causes gut problems and stomach upsets called shigellosis. There's a name for you. Symptoms usually include diarrhea, stomach cramps, fever. Some people who have no symptoms or just mild ones.
Mhm.
But essentially, it's through using toys that if you use a toy, and this is something that I'm really good with when I use my toy, I
Mhm.
I'm like, my toy goes back into surgery, and I
Yeah.
lather up my hands and I soap it and I put it back in its place that it should be. And a lot of people like to use toys when they're playing with their partners, but this is something that you would want to know of. Eating ass is another thing.
Mhm.
So what they advise is just wash your hands, avoid sharing towels, hot things of that kind of nature. If you find yourselves kind of a scary thing that,
Yeah,
I mean, I
definitely.
know, Kodi, you're an ass
I was gonna
eater.
say, eating ass is my second favorite meal, okay? If I ever am on death row,
Great.
then I will probably ask for an ass to eat as my last meal.
That is hilarious. I've
Yeah.
never heard somebody say that in my life.
Jen says eating ass
I
is
am
his
gonna
favorite
steal that.
sport.
What's your last meal? To eat a nice ass.
Yes, it
Right.
is.
That was
So
great.
thank you. I mean, I try. I'm here every Wednesday and Tuesday and Monday.
You
It's
don't even
interesting.
know what day it is.
It's interesting, Lincoln, because you and I have been around a while, and we've even lived through the heart of the AIDS crisis when it was actually happening. When you've heard of different STIs throughout the years, does something like this scare you, or do you feel like you lived through kind of the worst of it when we were dealing with the heart of the AIDS crisis?
Well, my brain was all over in the AIDS crisis, so it's hard to
Pinpoint.
narrow that down. But I do have 2 points to make that this reminds me of a good story. First of all, always put your toys in the dishwasher.
Yes.
That'll sanitize them and make them
Oh,
good. Run them through the
wow.
dishwasher. So that's one. Two, at one point in my life when I was single in New York City, somewhere post Block Party, I think, I got a parasite and
Oh
we
my
did not know
goodness.
what it was. And it felt like there was, whenever I hear I had a parasite, it's like there's a pterodactyl in your intestines. Like it's like really like
Oh,
it
right.
was a mess.
Ah!
It was a mess, and it was a lot of medications. And I actually, in my, it was early 30s, I got sent to a doctor, Pablo Pacheco, here in Manhattan, who is still the person I've always gotten my colonoscopies from. And I
Okay.
sat down at his desk, and he said, "You've been on a lot of medication. I could try more, but nothing can survive a colonoscopy. So
Oh,
just do a colonoscopy." And it fixed it.
Oh,
I'm not sure if
okay.
that's still what happened for everyone, but for what I had, it fixed it like that. So that was my first colonoscopy. I still love Pablo Pacheco. I've danced with him in the middle of a dance floor, and he's helps me with that part of my life. And I just hope people are careful because
yeah.
in this
Yes.
given day, with COVID and other viruses that people have and people's different stages of health, we
Yeah.
don't know what this could turn into down the road.
And you
Why
don't
do I
want to
look so
go into the
white? I am the
hospital.
whitest person in the world. Is there? Hang on.
If you
look
don't have to
good.
go, I was gonna say, if you don't
Sorry.
have to go into the hospital unnecessarily, now is not a good
Horrible.
time to go into the hospital
Yeah.
with COVID and everything that's going on. I
No,
agree with you 100%.
you were so right,
Everybody just be
because
careful and
To a
take
man
all
with
the
a broken
precautions.
ankle.
yeah, when I was trying to go into the hospital just to have my procedure done, my surgery done, it was like COVID test
Yeah.
and 78 hours before. And I was wondering, well, what if it for some reason I was positive? I'm pretty sure they would have said nope. And it's one of those surgeries that you kind of have to have within a segment of time. The other thoughts that I have too is this story is a real story that's happening in the UK, not to scare people to think that, oh my God, all of a sudden it's here in the States, but this is for your own information, but also there's certain things you can do if you like eating ass, and there's certain things you can do to wash your hands a little bit more and be a little bit more, that much more careful. I love the idea about putting your toys in the dishwasher. um Really great idea. I would make sure my mom's
Make
not
sure their dishwasher
coming over,
safe.
but yeah, right, dishwasher
I made sure
safe. Yeah.
you don't want to open the dishwasher and everything's melted. So I understand. Make sure that dishwashers are good.
Teddy says, now you all know, before eating ass, listen for a British accent. You might get me though, and sometimes I slip in and out. So
Oh, the Madonna of it all.
Marcus says, I walked in on you like to eat ass. I think we're talking about Jen. There's a whole feed going on, y'all,
Welcome.
because we're live. I love it.
Yes, we
All right.
are.
We've got to get to our next topic, which is somewhat related, but I applaud this one since I'm from California. So is Lincoln. California just did something big for the sexual health of its residents. It's made it easier for residents to undertake home STI testing. It's mandated that medical insurance plans cover the cost of home STI testing. Wow, California. This is why I always love being from California. This means that instead of going to a clinic, those in California will soon be able to test themselves at home. The move comes following a dramatic rise in STIs in recent years. They've, in 2019, I won't go over those stats, but the new law, part of the broader Senate bill, took effect January 1st for those with state recognized private medical insurance. This is the first law of its kind, says Stephanie Arnold Pang, Senior Director of Policy and Government Relations for the National Coalition of STI Directors. We want to bring down every single barrier for someone to get STI testing, and out-of-pocket cost is a huge factor. I really, really love this because insurance should be a right, but isn't in this country. And I know we have listeners across the pond and all over in Canada. Great, I would imagine insurance is that much better. It's not here. I pay so much per month as a sole proprietor working for myself. Lincoln, I can imagine it's out of control. And with this surgery, not to get into all the details, but it's a lot. So
it can be crazy.
And with things like STI testing, when you just want to get that test, and when things like Mister, where you can just go on there and talk to somebody online and get your prep, although you just have to show that you're HIV negative. I think something like this is so good. What are your thoughts on this, Lincoln, when you hear about what California is doing?
I think it's great, but I have a problem with it.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh.
What?
I'm ready.
No, it's going to make sense to you. I love home COVID tests. I think that's brilliant. But how are we tracking who's positive and who isn't? So as long as they're giving the test and people can register online and it still marks as being positive or negative. Everyone's saying the COVID rates are going down. Well, everyone's testing at home. If you're positive, who do you tell? How are we recording this stuff? And we need to still record it. So that's just, I don't know if they're not doing it or not. Hopefully they are doing it.
You're talking about COVID tests.
And STDs, which
why are we recording? Why would we be recording that?
Well, you want to know what the stats how do you know the STD rates are going up?
Sure. I mean, I think, but in general, you get all of that from the hospital system. I think there's not enough home STI tests. You're right. We probably won't get them with this, but we will be keeping STI rates lower if somebody knows their status.
But we won't know because we're changing the model of recording. So there are home
because when you have to self-record, how many times have you?
All right, go ahead, Lincoln.
You register online your test. You take the test, and somehow it registers the result back to you, so that it's recorded, so that we don't. There's not a huge gonorrhea outbreak in the middle of San Francisco.
But sometimes,
telling anyone that.
But the one thing I know about,
I love it. It's great, but I'm worried about that problem with it.
The only thing I would say on that is sometimes the tests that they do, the results that we get are months later. So when an outbreak could be occurring, I remember when there was a meningitis outbreak and it was happening and people were just getting sick and they were reporting loosely on some cases. And I went to a sex club here in New York, and at the sex club, they were giving meningitis vaccinations. And I was like, oh my God, should I do those? And I did it because I thought somebody is in the know in our community that knows something that's up before the national test results would be available, which may be too late. So I think that if you have something in advance, you're going to sit this one out, go to get the proper vaccination or proper
testing
for it so that you can, or antibiotics, so you can get rid of it on your own versus not doing anything and proliferating it in the community.
Well, not doing anything is not an option. I'm just saying, like, I remember with that meningitis outbreak, and that was all word of mouth. I heard that from a lot of people out in bars, and then when I talked to my doctor, I confirmed with him. But if we all had home tests and no one's reporting it, how would we know? That's my only point.
I hear you. Maybe there's a way around it. Cody, what are the people saying?
Jen actually says that he took his home COVID test with his doctor on a Zoom conference, and the doctor waited for him to get the results back. So I think that's one way to curb it.
That's
and
amazing.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way. Thank you, Jen, for that recommendation, because mine was much less concise or effective, I would say. But yeah, and Teddy says that his job does not accept at-home COVID tests as his weekly testing requirement.
Right, because they have proof of it. Right? You just don't go in if you test positive.
James says he's struggling with his HMO right now and billing, and it's so much money. It has turned into a mess. Yep, I hear you. Joshua, you're fangirling out because you met me in P-Town. Oh, wow, nice. I love it.
True.
He suggests that we should do a taping out Bear Weekend or Leather Weekend in P-Town. I would love that. Joshua, offline, if you could help make that happen, if you know some people out there would love that, get in contact with us. Would really love that, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Last week, we checked in. We gave some advice to Jen, who is a listener, and he is back. Grab a spot, Jen, because we want you to report back on what's new. Hey, Jen.
Hey, I like it when that happens.
Hi,
yes.
Jen.
Welcome back, Jen. You were very popular last week, and I love the t-shirts, sashay away. I love the tats, showing a little bit more skin this week. We gave you some notes on what you wore, and I love how you came back. No, we're kidding. We did not give you notes. This is not Project Runway, I swear.
Make it work, honey. He made it work for sure.
He was making it work. The haircut is fire.
I did too.
Very nice.
Very sexy. Nice. You look great. So I know Lincoln wasn't around, and for those listeners that maybe didn't hear your story, essentially, let me see if I can do this really quick, and then we want to hear what's going on. Essentially, you've been dating a guy for 9 months or a little over 9 months. He's Colombian. Yeah, he's Colombian, correct?
Yeah.
And things have been going great. You wrote to me when I referenced what you wrote. You had sex like bunnies for most of those 9 months, which sounds like bliss to me. And all of a sudden, he said, we need to get married. Is that correct? And I don't know if you agreed or not, but did you agree? You did not agree because you said you need more time, which we commend you for that. But he also said, I am not having sex. And by the way, what we found out on last week's show, which we didn't know when he wrote in, is that Jen and his boyfriend live together. Is he still behind that door number 1 on your left shoulder?
Right? That is the question that I want to know.
He's cooking again?
Really? Oh, wow.
You like to live on the edge, Jen.
I could never. Cody? I know. What he demanded from you, or asked at least, is that he doesn't want to have sex with you until you promise to marry him.
Right.
And you even tried to jump on him I remember last week you said you jumped on top of him in the middle of the night and he pushed you away and said, no, I told you no. Well, Valentine's has happened, and where does things stand? Did you talk to him? What can you share with us?
So we talked, and I was like, I'm still not getting married. I'm not ready. It's a big step, for me, with the red flag, because I did say that I was married to a girl before, and she only used me for the green card. So for me, it's a red flag that he just wants to go to Colombia and be able to come back.
Yes.
And it's 9 months is very little time to get married.
But did you tell him that part?
Yeah, I told him, but he does.
Oh, how did he react to that?
So he said, no, it's people get married when they meet. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like that. I want to wait. I want to wait. I want to make sure that it's real and that we're not gonna get divorced in a couple of months, a couple of years, and then I'm older, and then it's it's harder for me to go back into the single life. Being older, I guess.
Well, judging on the side messages over here, I think you would have no problem getting back into the single life. But beyond that, though, one of the things that he said was it was an ultimatum, like
Right.
no sex until we get married.
Right.
Did you change? Did any of that change? Did you have a conversation about that on how your needs are important?
So I thought that was gonna happen on Sunday. We went out to the city, we went to the Museum of Sex. That was pretty arousing.
Oh, fun!
Ooh,
Very fun.
Okay.
I took him to a rooftop for dinner, and then I got home, and he goes, "I'm like, I showered," and he showered for like an hour and a half. So I got excited. I was like, "Oh, because
none of us shower for an hour and a half until we know what's going on."
You know what that means.
So
that is hysterical.
He was in the shower for an hour and a half, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let me get ready." Took everything out and everything, and he came in and he goes like, "Oh, I want to go to this Dua Lipa concert in March. Can you get me a ticket?" And I'm like, "Okay, we could go. I don't like her, but we could go." And he goes like, "Yeah, but I want the I think it was like $1,000 ticket." And I'm like, "No, I don't know who she is. I mean, I know who she is, but I don't like her music. So I'm not gonna spend."
We'll get you up to speed on Dua after the show, but beyond that, $1,000.
Wait, what?
I said no, and he went to bed.
So still,
yeah.
And so an hour and a half in the shower to figure out that he wanted to go to Dua Lipa.
We have a drawer with all the supplies to shower with, and I'm like, "Oh, he did shower. He did get ready and everything."
He did get ready.
Yes, it was just
so. If you would have said yes to Dua Lipa, then yes to being ready.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let's put this to Lincoln real quick, because let's just say substitute Dua for Madonna. And
first of all, not for nothing, I looked into Dua Lipa tickets and they are really expensive right now. I don't think he's trying to get more money than the ticket, because it really is really expensive. But yeah, how do you feel?
I feel like I'm being
seriously.
I feel like I'm being used for what I could give him citizenship wise and for my money.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good, right?
No, because I mean, on a time I don't make money. I just I make okay.
Yeah.
But no, you make everything in the world. That doesn't matter. I'm just saying that doesn't feel good, right?
Right, no.
Well, love feels good.
Right.
That's it. True. Love feels good. So if that's not what you're doing with this guy, you just need to kind of move on. I don't know how you live with him, but you need to move on. And you just need to say, "I'm moving on." Because there's someone else who will give him what he's looking for. And I don't think that's you.
Right.
I could see it in your eyes. It's not you.
Are there some
Lincoln that touched me? Thank you.
Well, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah. And because Lincoln, I don't know if you heard what Jen had to say, and he definitely said it last week. He's been through this before with a woman in the past where they were together, and then weren't you going to get married, Jen? And it all came down to the same thing.
We were married.
You were married. Okay.
But you don't want to do if you do the same thing again, that's insanity, right? So, because you're not going to get a different result. You're going to get the same result. It's just with a guy this time, which comes with its own baggage, as everyone on the screen can agree with. So, and I'm sure if you were married to a woman at some point, you're still figuring out stuff yourself too. So you don't need this static to interfere with what you need.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
I know it's tough. I know, because when you live with him, and we all feel for you. But what are some of the real quick? There's qualities about him that you really like too.
Oh yes, his ass is the best thing in the world.
Is that what about his personality?
There's a lot of ass out there.
Nice?
But I hear what you're saying.
No, okay, you're right. I love my man's ass too.
Listen, there are boyfriends I've broken up with. Don't remember their last name, but I remember their ass.
Oh, okay.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, oh, his name, I don't remember his last name, but oh my God, that ass. So I get that. That's a real thing, but there's other ass out there.
You know, and
Did
I feel
you know
like,
their name to begin with? Is what I
yeah.
want to know.
Yes, no, I did. I just never remember.
You know, and lastly, I mean, what's Teddy saying? Also, getting married for papers is fraudulent.
Yeah.
James says he's using you on a real note. Just protect your heart. Yep. Daniel says you can find a great ass who isn't looking to benefit off of you financially. Yep.
Yep.
Agree. But maybe it's
We
worth
all
one
agree
more.
that you deserve better.
Maybe it's worth one more sit down to so he understands the severity of what he's proposing and how ludicrous all this is, just to see, you know, and maybe when he understands that,
Yeah.
you know, the severity of it all, he may rethink some of his requests and forget about
Right.
Dua Lipa. You're gonna lose Jen, who's way priced more than $1,000.
But
I
also,
guarantee.
also really remember, it's about what you want. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to fix the problem for him.
Yeah.
This isn't about him. This is all about you. You know what I mean? Like in a very real way, it's just all about you, the voice in your head, and the feeling of your heart. Just take a deep breath, and space doesn't do anything except for just be like, I need space, and then everything else will define itself as you move forward. But just hold your own for who you are. Just step back and do nothing, and you'll be amazed what happens.
All right, thank you.
Wow.
Jen, I want to thank you. And Jen joined our Patreon community, our Tag Sex Pods community, and we'll continue this conversation in the Discord channel too. As updates,
oh,
give us
I opened it, by the way.
Oh, and last week he got
Didn't get one of those either.
from adamstoybox.com. I'm taking care of you, Lincoln, next week. Thanks for that. We will keep you guys updated with what's going on with Jen and maybe bring him back up if he's willing. But thanks so much, Jen. Really
thank you so much.
it.
Thank you for that advice. Thank you,
It
guys.
was nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jen. Take care of yourself.
I met you.
He met you once.
You look familiar. I'm not. Where would it? Okay, we could talk about that.
You'll tell me on the Discord
and
channel.
keep us posted,
I know.
boo. Okay.
Or in the messages. Yeah.
All right,
you guys. And up next, we've got more advice to give. We love doing this segment. James, if you want to grab a spot, join the conversation. Here he is coming up on. I love doing this. Hello. Oh, fanning out.
Oh.
I would have
started something.
Hold on. I want to say I wrote in with a problem. I no longer have any more problems because Jen has got me hot and bothered.
I am not worried about Jen anymore. I mean, yes, he has some things to work out, but I am not worried about Jen.
He knows.
That's hysterical.
Sending roses. Welcome, James. Little known fact about James. He wrote in with a conundrum that he's going to tell us in just a second. But Kodi and I did a thing called Clubhouse, which is an app on the iPhone last summer, maybe. I can't remember. Spring, summer. And Clubhouse is where we were having deeper conversations on there about our sex positivity. And James was a regular guest on there. And I loved our conversations. I always loved checking in with you, James, because you were always on a dog walk in Chicago somewhere. And real quick, what do you do? Chicago Pet Club. Tell us really quick what you do and what you've embarked on.
So actually, I've started 2 companies during the pandemic after I lost my job, and I started Chicago Pet Club. And so I grew up on a farm in Kansas, so I've always had pets around and always dealt with dogs. So I started it, and it went from like 3 customers, like I was just doing as a favor. We have 91 customers today. So within 1 year.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And it's been like today was crazy. Thursday is going to be, I work from 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't stop until 9. So I'm like dog walk, you know, like all this stuff going on. So yeah, but it's fun. I love it. Cool. I thought today as I was walking through, I was like, I get to play with dogs every single day and people pay me to do it. Like,
oh my God. And as a fellow dog lover, I mean, I recorded on Super Bowl Sunday, there was the Puppy Bowl that I recorded, and anything about dogs, I'm like all about. obsessed
So
with
funny.
dogs. Obsessed with
Yeah.
dogs. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyways, you did write in, and why don't you just tell us a little bit about, because I understand that there's some new updates on it, and then we'll proceed.
Oh,
Okay, so actually there's some new
developments?
there's some new developments that happened last night. So let's get into the tea.
Okay.
So to condense this down, because this is like a huge long story, this has been going on for quite a while. So basically, the quick little rundown is I've lived here for about 11 years when I moved here from Kansas. And about 3-4 years into it, somewhere around there, I was on Grindr and like talking to this guy, and he lived really close to me. And so we'll call him Antonio, just to, for namesake.
You don't want to call him Jin?
I was gonna say, where did you get that name from, though? Because it sounds like you have a whole name for him. A first name, a last name, a middle name, Antonio.
You did not.
So Antonio was online, and like his picture was like super cute. I noticed he was like really tall. Like I'm into tall guys. And I was like, oh my God, he's 6'3". I was like, oh man. So I like reached out to him, text or messaged him. So we started talking. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the conversation just ended. Like his profile disappeared. I was like, okay, either he blocked me or, he's found somebody else. So whatever. So just move on. Yeah. So like a week later, I'm like walking around here in like the formerly known as like Boys Town area. And I saw him close to where, because we lived next to each other or close to each other. I saw him walking around with another guy, and I was like, "Oh, he's with somebody." So there's your answer. So just move on. Fast forward to present day, I'm on Grindr still, messaging people, trying to find true love.
Hey,
to get all my
it worked for me. So
I'm on there, and I'm like talking to people and stuff, and then I see his picture, and I'm like, fell out of my chair. I'm like, oh my God, this is fate. Like this is it. So I'm like, messaging him. It's like, hey, do you wanna get some coffee or something? And he's like, yeah, sure. I was like, oh my God. And so I was like flipping out. I was like telling everybody, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a date with this guy. I've talked to him before, blah, blah, blah. So we go to coffee, and my biggest thing with guys is the sense of humor. Like you have to have a good sense of humor. If you can't laugh at things or make fun of stuff, even in intense situations, it's just not going to work for me. It's not going to be. It's a deal breaker in my book.
More.
So we go to coffee at this cute little coffee shop here in Uptown, and we're sitting outside. He has his dog, and I'm telling him about my dog business. He's so interested, and I make him laugh, and then I'm laughing. He's laughing. We're like going back and forth, and I'm like, "This is
it's
great."
like a Meg Ryan movie.
Oh my God! Yeah, exactly. I was like,
until it wasn't.
The new J-Lo movie. I could
Yeah.
Oh,
Halle Berry.
I was so J-Lo.
Enough.
But then, I kind of walk him home, but he was like, where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live in this building. And he's like, oh, I live right over here. And I was like, that's like half a block away from me. So then, we keep talking, and like things move forward. And I ask him out to the Banksy art exhibit here in Chicago. We go to dinner to a restaurant called Havana downtown. It was a beautiful summer night. We were sitting outside.
Get to the point, James.
You're telling the story like Steve tells stories.
So we go on all these dates.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
We go on all these dates and everything, but nothing nothing happens. Like we don't nothing goes beyond that. Like no kiss, no nothing. So I was like, okay, well I'm in the friend zone now. So fast forward, this has been going on for months and months and months. And I just think that I'm at a point now where he's totally friend zoned me. Like I already know the answer to it. He's friend zoned me. I don't think he's interested in me because he's actually brought up his ex several times, who he is still sleeping with. So I don't think he's over his ex, but I did invite him over last night, and I made him a delicious steak dinner. And
Hold
he
up.
told me,
On Valentine's Day, you invited
Mhm.
him over and he came over because I'm very careful not to do things like that with people that I like. If somebody invited me that I wasn't into on Valentine's Day, I'd go, "Oh, I can't. I have a something. Yeah, that." You
well, I
know,
did say, so I said, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, neither does he, which is our common thing. Like, we're not into that stuff. And I said, "Oh, I forgot it was Valentine's Day. Do you want to come over, or are you busy getting, your kitty punched by your ex?" I literally texted that to him, and he goes, "Girl, shut up. Like, I'm not, we're not hanging out or whatever. But I will come over. What are you making?" And I said, "I'm making steak." And I said, "We can watch Euphoria, because that's been our big thing, is like we watch Euphoria and all these other shows on HBO." And yeah, he came over and he was like, "Oh, the steak is so good. I'm having a great time." And then he was like drunk out of nowhere. Like, he just got drunk.
Okay.
And then out of nowhere, he's like, "I have to go." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Are you okay?" And then he just like up and
Hmm.
left because he had to catch a flight today. But yeah,
okay.
I'm getting like mixed signals. I already know the answer to this, and I slightly already,
Just
moved
have you
on.
kissed or had any sex
No,
or
No
anything like that?
kiss.
Nothing
no,
at all.
no,
Nothing. No hand on an ass.
no. Well, I poked him in the
Been
ass one day.
long.
I was a joke. I no,
Okay.
nothing. No, no.
Nothing. Yeah. Sounds like a nice friend.
It's just, you know what though? I mean,
No,
it sucks.
and you know what?
But he
For
sounds
this,
very okay. Go ahead. What?
listen, friends are really important. And my mission lately, especially since post-COVID, is I want to make my friendships more sexy and my sexual relationship more friend-like. Like, I think there's a
Okay.
balance as we all come out of COVID. So while he does sound like a nice friend, I think he's smoothing out your rough edges to meet the right guy. But I don't think
Yeah,
he's going to turn around tomorrow and be like, "Hey, let's
Mm.
get married." Because if he did, you probably
correct,
wouldn't even be that into him.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, and James, I feel like he's a little bit selfish in a way because when you meet somebody on Grinder like that and somebody asks you out, I think you have to kind of know that they like you a little bit. And for
yeah,
him to go laugh with you and all this kind of stuff and then proceed to tell you it's fine. It's his reality is he's still into this guy and that's
Hmm.
his reality. But I think, you know, but it's also on you too, because I've been with people before and I've gone on 3 dates where I just couldn't go there and I couldn't do the kiss thing because I just wasn't into them. And but I took 3 dates. I remember this last summer, I took 3 dates to see was I really into this guy or not. And the
Yeah.
third date, I was like, I'm not. And then I just stopped inviting them to certain things because I didn't want to lead. I could
Lead them on.
tell this guy liked me more than I liked them and I
Hmm.
didn't want to nurse that thing because it's getting us nowhere on either side. And
yeah.
so I just think you are at your realization. And do you still find him still sexy and hot? I mean, even
I
from I
do.
know.
Yes,
I mean, maybe not after
yes.
tonight with Jin,
Okay.
but
Oh, hot
It
So-
is
hasn't evolved
hot.
out. Now
So
I
what
put it
I
on.
think is, I think that you have to decide for yourself whether or not you want to risk his friendship to try and maybe force a relationship with him. So that's something you have to decide on for yourself on your own before you even, because I think you can still honestly turn it
It's a
around.
great point.
I don't think that like it's something that's beyond the scope of, because friends become lovers all the time, and I don't want to lead you on, and I don't want you to lead yourself on. Just go into it with the realization that you might not be friends afterwards, and he still might be hung up on his ex.
yeah. Well, Daniel brought up
But you
the
have
to
to
your
talk to him about it first. You have to say, I am interested in you romantically. You have to be straightforward with him.
initially, I think Cody, but I also
Yeah.
think at this point in the game, it's like, he kind of, I feel like
I don't
at a
know.
certain
I
point,
think he can still
but
turn it around.
and why would you bring up that whole conversation now, knowing
But
that
wait,
you probably know?
I have a question. Have you
But
guys
I don't
talked
think
about his ex? Have you talked about being boyfriends? Have you talked about dating other people? Any of that?
Yeah, like he told me a couple of nights ago, he was like, "Oh, I'm now on Hinge," and I go, "Okay,"
he's still
and I
actively looking. and you guys do
Yeah.
things that boyfriends do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no, but not if he's on Hinge. If he's telling
No,
him
no,
he's
no,
on
no. But
Hinge, that's
when
disrespectful
they're
to James.
when they're together, they do things that boyfriends do.
But they're
Be-
not boyfriends. So
But
how's
they're
it
not
disrespectful?
boyfriends.
They're just hanging out.
Exactly.
Okay, well then-
there's no commitment there right now.
Could
So
you, here's a question for you to kind of round this out. Could you see yourself just hanging out with him as a friend, even though you still have this attraction? Could you be his friend?
I'm glad you said that, because last night actually, like I was, cooking, and he came over. I said, just come to the front, the doors, open, come up. And I was in here like listening to music, and I was cooking, and
Not on all fours or anything like that, right? Okay,
well,
got it.
usually I am.
that
Well,
would have been
normally
excellent.
well, when the
Way to
doors
get the
open,
point across.
No, he
just
he
come
came
in, make yourself at home. I'll be on all fours. The steak is in the oven.
Anything,
No,
use any
it's
hole
usually,
you want to.
The lights are off. I'm face down, ass up. No, just kidding. No, I said, I've already called in the front desk, like they'll let you up or whatever. So he comes in and he goes, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, what are you cooking in here? And it was like a different vibe last night. And as we were sitting here at the dining room table, it was different. Like this, that's why I said like the transpired different last night. He was in a different mood. And like it just felt different, but he was still telling me, he's like, oh, I'm on Hinge. I talked to my ex-boyfriend, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then when he said, there's something about it. I wish you could have been there, because it was just different about how he said, you really cooked this steak like perfectly. Like you did this perfectly. And we had this like moment. It was like a movie moment. And I wanted to go, I like you. I like you. I like you a lot. Like, why? Like, what are we doing here? This is stupid.
I think you
like,
should. I really.
And
I you know what? In that setting, I completely agree with you. So, and there is no TikTok. See what happens in the next 3 months, and if you want to take yourself to saying that, maybe he'll say it to you first. Who knows?
Yeah, and if nothing else,
you don't know where he's at if you don't talk to him about it. It sounds like he was on Grindr. He met a boyfriend. He got off Grindr. It sucks to break up with someone. You don't really know who you are, and we're weird. People are all weird from COVID and being. Once you connect with someone, you're not going to go out and connect with 40 other people. It's like, let's just stay in.
He sounds confused in his own right, though, to be honest. And he's playing along with you, and he doesn't know where you're at. And it sounds like it can be.
He doesn't know where you're at.
Yeah, and it can be torturous with that. I think some Ice Drop says, I think James needs to signal harder to Antonio that he's interested for more than a friendship. I agree.
Cracks me up.
Daniel also said earlier on, I remember reading that he probably ran off to that other guy.
We don't know that. There's no hard evidence for that.
That could have been. I mean, but anyway,
anything could have. He could have went to go see his mother.
He could have ran out and done drag. Honey.
Teddy says
he could have done.
Teddy says Julia Robertson.
He could have done a lot of things.
Julia Robertson. Maybe this one has a different ending. Oh, I like that one. And Jen says maybe he's just looking at you as a friend, but since you want to be with him, your mind is seeing all these signals.
And honestly, he might be using you as a replacement boyfriend, a placeholder boyfriend. And that is something that's completely within the scope of like possibility. But if you are having these feelings towards him, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to him to be honest about them.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that help at all, James?
Yeah.
You're like, no, not at all.
Well, yeah. It gets complicated every single time we talk, and then I'm just like, just say something, and then no, don't say anything, and like say something, and then it's like, like I don't know, like I just go back and forth.
I say, you know what? I want to say something to that. Try and exercise the next time you're with him. Just notice who you are.
Yeah.
Just notice who you are. And by the way, the greatest way to do this is if you're in the middle of the day, go into the bathroom to pee and look at yourself square in the mirror, like square to the eyes, and be like, what are you doing right now? And watch how your eyes are moving and how your mouth is moving and who you're being. Because no matter what, if this works out and you guys are going to be there for the rest of your lives together, or however it's supposed to work out, you don't want to be this whimpering, needy, is this happening? Is this not happening? I'm not saying you are.
No.
I'm saying you don't want to look like that, right? You don't want that on your face. Because I have been in relationships where people are not into me.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make my formula of us being together happen, and you're going to be happy, and everything's going to be fine. And it is not pretty. I get very angry. I remember a girlfriend once said, "Why are you so mean to him?" And I didn't even realize that me being insecure about him not liking me the same way I liked him made me into an asshole to him. Like, what the fuck is your problem? And in looking back, that breaks my heart. Because actually, this person invited me to his wedding, and I went in Napa like 30 years after we were together. Because that's like, why was I ever mean to that
bond
person?
that you have? Yeah.
So
And
just
Lincoln,
watch yourself.
Lincoln, I love what you guys are also saying too, is know who you are when you are with him, James. One of the things I wrote down is your sense of humor, that he loved your sense of humor. That's something that you can put a radar out there, and that's very important. I love a good sense of humor too. I love it when people laugh at my jokes too, or get my humor. And you're learning what you want for the right person. You don't want somebody that's going to be running off and questioning how you made the steak, and
it's too much work.
But you do owe it to yourself, if you're going to continue to hang out with him, to have that conversation on telling him how you really feel, so that if it's just going to be a friendship, you can go on from that point on, and at least he'll know how you felt, and hopefully be a little bit more sensitive to you than the dickish way he's been. So nothing else, I hope that.
But wait a minute, do you think he's really been dickish to you? Or is he just doing his best?
I think he sounds a little aloof. And
this is James.
Yeah.
James,
no, not James.
Answer.
I'm talking about the guy.
James answer. James is questions for you.
Do you think he's being a dick?
No, because like even last night when he came over, he walks in, like the door's unlocked, he walks in and my kitchen's right there. So he goes, "Oh, girl, what are you doing in here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just cooking." And he's like, we have this little cattiness with each other, like this funny cattiness. And I said, "Don't you come in here and start telling me what to do in my own kitchen." And he's like, "Oh, I'm just, and we were going back and forth. And then I did stop Lincoln. Like I was like, he walked into the other room because my kitchen's kind of closed off. And then I stood there, I was like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? And then he sits down, he's like, "Do you need me to help?" And I was like, "Yeah. Get over there and cut these potatoes up and do this." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And then we're going back and forth and everything.
I wish I was a fly on the wall, really, now.
This is fun. Like you're having fun with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's
for
like,
sure.
This is my thought, because after last night, this is my 2 cents to myself, is I think he is somewhat interested, but I think he's still hung up on his ex and he hasn't gotten over it because he left abruptly and moved out, had to buy all new furniture. But then he's met me and we have so many interests. I think it kind of scares him a little bit that we have so many interests and we hang out. But I don't think he's ready to move on from that. Because he even said, "I talked to my therapist today about blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Did you bring up your ex and how you're still sleeping with them?" And he goes, "Yeah, I don't think my ex or my therapist needs to know about that." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea that you still do that. You should probably tell your therapist." And then the conversation went on and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think that's good." Anyways, I just think he's
good advice, by the way. I'm so happy you said that, because lying to your therapist is just stupid.
We got to wrap this segment up, Kodi. So go ahead.
So Teddy wants to know: do you talk to him do you text him on the phone, or do you still text him on Grindr? I think that's a very important question.
We're like, he'll FaceTime me. That's the other thing. Like I wish again you were a fly on the wall. Like he'll just FaceTime me in the middle of the day, and I'm like, I don't like to talk on the phone. Like I don't know what you're calling me for.
Yeah.
So
my advice is tell him how you feel and just be prepared for any answer. Be prepared for it, the best, and be prepared for the worst. So
and keep playing it out, but don't drive yourself crazy. Enjoy it. He might be out of your life in 6 months, and then you'll be like, why didn't I enjoy that more? Enjoy it.
And then you can call Jen.
He's not being a dick.
Or any of the people in the message board over here. Okay.
Keep us posted, James. Keep us posted, James, because we want to follow up with you on this. And
I will. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. For writing in, you get a free sex toy from adamstoybox.com. I'm going to get your address on offline afterwards, but adamstoybox.com is sending you the Man Squeeze Ultra Skin Ass Stroker William Seed, it's called. William Seed is a well-known French-Canadian porn star.
I know him.
Some of you may already, so you might already know his works. And so some of you may have fantasized about being with him in intimate ways. It may be possible for many reasons. And the Man Squeeze Ultra Skin Ass Stroker, his hole has been copied and set in fabulous ultra skin. The hard case stroker features variable pressure, adjustable suction, and they come in a variety of internal textures unique to each star. I am sending you that, James, so I'll get your address and email later. But also, you guys all can get 20% off everything at adamstoybox.com. Simply use our promo code TAGS, TAGS. Again, go to adamstoybox.com, promo code TAGS. Thanks, James. So much fun. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, James.
Yeah.
Hi, James.
Bye.
Good luck,
All
James.
right.
Keep us posted.
Cheers.
We will.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, baby.
Yes. Send us some dog pics.
Steve, how you read stuff like that, that would drive me crazy. Like just hearing you read that whole thing, I would Adele Nazim the shit out of that. Like I can't read like that. I'm so dyslexic that, and never mind. It was just very funny to me. But they have great toys.
I love reading.
Adam's Market or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Adam's Toy Box. Yes.
Yay, Adam's Toy Box.
The copy, yes, it is. It is.
Yeah, that copy is like chewing on wood.
I'm saying we have just a couple seconds, but I think I want to take these last few seconds. We talked with Kodi and myself after 5 years of podcasting. Lincoln, I looked at some of the early footage, one of the very first ones that we recorded, and you were on one of the very first video podcasts that we did in my apartment here, even before you were a host. Yeah. And so that was really cool. I think it was like you, not Jeremy. I think it was Steve Carpenter, you and I, and it was really a lot of fun. I think.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What have you enjoyed so much about being a part of Tag's podcast?
Because it keeps my finger in the community in a way that nothing else in my life does.
Oh,
it's not always familiar. It's not always easy. I don't always agree. Many times I'm made to feel like the Meghan McCain of the group, but we move on.
Never. Don't you ever think that ever again.
That. She is an argumentative person, and I think I'm as pale as she is. I look like Casper. Is there a color like anyway?
You look great.
You look fantastic, darling.
Thank you. And it helps me. Oh, that's the other thing. It has helped me form my opinions that I then live with outside of doing the podcast.
Nice.
Thank you. And I love your opinions. 9 times out of 10, you might think you're the Megan. You have acute advice or insight into some of the hot topics that we bring up. And people don't know this. For Tag's podcast, I prep a lot of these, but I don't really share them on Tag's podcast with you guys. Tag's Live is a different story. We do a little bit, but and you always have such insight, and I really love your insight. It's amazing. It is always on something I didn't think of, but it's always super acute. And
I really appreciate your point of view.
Yeah, I think everybody can agree with that.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, everyone seems to agree with that.
I was not expecting that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love you.
Well, we have come time to our hour again. Thank you so much on this part 2 of 5-year anniversary. More on take advantage of our Tag Sex Pause community. You can join at patreon.com/Tags Podcast. I want to thank Lincoln. He's currently at his Protein Bakery
am.
right
And
there.
it gets very cold here at night.
I guess so.
I see my breath with every passing minute.
I love a good lemon bar.
However, bakery, if anyone's in the city, the bakery is
Yeah.
evolving into something new and different that I'm very excited about. It's more of an experience to come to in New York. I will always be here. I'm not working with anyone else. So I'm limiting the hours. And when I travel, the bakery's closed. When I'm here, the bakery's open. And we're still getting fresh stuff out. It's fun. It's different. It's great.
19th Street between 7th and 8th,
7th
6th and 6th Avenue.
6th. And I'm right next to a fire department. So we can come, have a protein cookie, look at all the firemen. They are really sexy.
Hey,
They're
I have to
really
admit,
in the
sexy.
springtime.
They are really sexy.
Do
And
it.
one of them is on Scruff.
Oh,
Fabulous.
And his name is like Fire Hose. I'm like a little too on the
Yes.
That's okay.
Oh,
I love it.
Nah, truly. He's like a really short guy with a huge mustache. And I was like, what is happening? Yeah, it's fun.
Well,
We
thank
need
you,
to get those
Lincoln.
dog pics.
As always, thank you, Kodi. Follow
Thank
Kodi
you,
at
darling.
Mr. Maurice. Mr. Maurice. Kodi will be with me tomorrow live for Tags
Yep.
Live.
I will.
Back at it again. Here we go. Thanks, guys. So much fun. And in the meantime, as always, continue having or exploring or thinking about hot,
Hot
gay,
Hot gay.
sex.
sex. Yes.